The seat that wouldn't move. The hum of conversation echoed through Gate 34B at Sacramento International Airport. Families were scattered across rows of metal seats, some talking softly, others dozing beneath fluorescent lights. But one girl wasn't sitting still. Her name was Eliana Brooks, and her small legs, clad in scuffed jeans and pink sneakers, swung under the chair in restless excitement. Clutched tightly in her lap was a faded book on space exploration. Its corners were curled, its cover worn from years of rereading. It had been a gift from her dad when she was Fivia's symbol of every dream she had carried since. She was 10 now, and the book had traveled with her to every place her mind had gone. The surface of Mars, the moons of Jupiter, and now, finally, Sacramento. Eliana had just completed a 2-week science camp downtown, where she'd learned to program satellites, simulate zero gravity, and debate the ethics of planetary colonization. It had been the highlight of her year. But today was the cherry on top for first time flying first class. She kept checking her golden boarding pass like it might disappear. First class. VIP. Priority. The words looked official, like they belonged on a government badge. She wasn't even sure what most of them meant, but just having them printed on her ticket made her feel like she mattered, like she had earned this. Her father, Malcolm Brooks, wasn't a celebrity. He wasn't on billboards or the news. But he worked hard. Everyone at his job called him the backbone. Once, when they'd gone to lunch, people lined up just to shake his hand. He had never been the type to spoil her. If he gave something, it meant something. This seat, this flight, it was a reward. A message. I see how hard you're working too, Ellie, he'd said with a smile the day he booked it. You deserve to feel what that means. The gate speakers crackled to life. Boarding for Flight 282 to San Diego had begun. Eliana leapt up, backpack slung over her shoulder, chest pounding. When they called first class, she hesitated. Just a beat walking past the long line of adults in business attire made her feel both proud and nervous. A few smiled. A few blinked in confusion, trying to figure out where her parents were. But she held out her ticket with a small smile and walked down the jet bridge. C2A. Window. She found it quickly. The chair was huge, wider than anything in her house, with smooth leather and a blanket folded neatly on the armrest. She pressed her fingers into the cushion and laughed quietly. This wasn't a seat. This was a throne. Settling in, she tucked her space book into the seat pocket and looked out the window at the runway alive with movement. Her chest swelled. Maybe this was what success felt like. Quiet, powerful, real. But 15 minutes later, everything changed. She was tracing Saturn's rings in the fog of the window when she heard a click of heels. Turning, she saw a flight attendant, tall, blonde, her uniform sharp and spotless. Her smile was bright, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Hi there, sweetie," she said, voice overly sweet. "Would you mind helping us out today?" Eliana blinked. Helping? She hadn't done anything wrong. She straightened instinctively. "We have a very important guest who needs a little extra room," the woman continued. "Would you be a big helper and move to another seat? We can get you something just as nice further back." Eliana's fingers curled around the armrest. She felt suddenly very small, but she remembered her dad's words. Speak with respect. Speak clearly. Stand tall. "I'd really like to stay here, please," she said softly. The woman's smile flickered, lips tight. "I know you like the seat," she said, her tone lighter but sharper. "But we do need this one. It's for an older passenger. Very important." Eliana looked around. The first-class section was full of white adults in press clothes. She was the only black person in sight, and no one else was being asked to move. "My dad bought this seat," she whispered. The attendant's jaw tensed for just a second. Then she nodded briskly and walked away. Eliana stared at her sneakers. Her palms were damp. What had she done wrong? Was it her age? Her skin? The fact that she was alone? Before she could answer her own questions, the woman returned. This time, she brought backup. A man in a navy blazer followed behind her, a name tag gleaming on his lapel. He knelt beside Eliana, eyes level. "Miss," he said in a too-practiced voice, "we're hoping you'll reconsider." We'd be happy to offer you all the same amenities in a nearby seat. It would mean a lot to the crew. Eliana stayed silent, clutching the blanket on her lap. I want to stay, she said again, more firmly. The man's smile cracked. He straightened, exhaled. The flight attendant leaned in, voice low. First class is usually reserved for adults, she said. You'll be more comfortable in the back. It's where the other kids are. There are no other kids, Eliana said softly. I walked past everyone. Neither of them said anything to that. But it was clear they didn't want her here. She reached for her phone. Her dad had told her to keep it close. She opened the last message he'd sent. Call if you need anything. Love you. Her thumbs moved quickly. Daddy, help. They wanted to give up my seat. Won't leave me alone. Please hurry. She hit send. Then she waited. Everything around her buzzed the final boarding call, the hum of other passengers getting settled, but she focused only on the tiny screen in her hand. 2 minutes. 3. Her throat felt tight. And then it buzzed. Malcolm Brooks, stay calm. Do not move. I'm handling it. Buzz. Malcolm Brooks, do they know who you are yet? They're about to. She didn't know what that meant. But she felt something shift. The man in the suit, once confident, now looked uncertain. The flight attendant kept glancing toward the cockpit. A second attendant walked down the aisle briskly and whispered something into the suited man's ear. His face turned pale. The pilot's voice came on overhead. We'll be experiencing a short delay. Eliana's phone buzzed again. Malcolm Brooks just got off the phone with the COO. He knows your name. And mine. When the suited man returned, his demeanor had changed completely. He crouched again, but this time he was almost apologetic. Miss Brooks, he said quietly, there's been a misunderstanding. Of course you can stay. We're very sorry. He left without another word. 10 minutes later, 4 crew members, including the first flight attendant, were seen leaving the plane. The door closed behind them. The new staff barely glanced at Eliana. Service resumed as if nothing had happened. But everyone in first class was glancing at her now with quiet awe. The flight lifted off. When Eliana landed in San Diego, she saw her father through the glass doors before she even reached baggage claim. He wrapped her in his arms. You stood your ground, he whispered. I'm proud of you. At home, the story didn't stop. A passenger had live-tweeted what they saw. A journalist picked it up. By noon the next day, Eliana's name was everywhere. The airline released a statement. They apologized. They promised policy reviews. The involved staff were no longer with the company. But the story was bigger than one airline. It was about who gets to feel like they belong and who gets asked to move. Where father asked if she wanted to speak publicly, Eliana thought long and hard. Then she stepped in front of a microphone and said, I was taught that if you earn your seat, you don't have to move for anyone. Not because you're young. Not because you look different. If you earned it, it's yours. You stay. And she stayed. Because sometimes the quietest voice in the room is the one that changes everything.